So today we're going to do the handover video on this Burstner Argos A747. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. So firstly, if we come over to your driver's side, your bonnet release catch is just located here. Pull that, it's just next to your the steering wheel control. Pull that to release the bonnet. As you can see, I've put the bonnet up for us. The main things that you need to know underneath there is if you're ever going to jump start the vehicle. If that is the case, your negative terminal, as indicated by the little minus sign there, connects onto here, and your positive symbol is just in the back there and just connects onto that tab right at the back. It's quite difficult to see it on video, but it is just located right at the back. And of course, that is if you're ever jump starting the vehicle. They're the main things that you need to know, but just to point out a couple more. You've got your brake disc fluid here, along with your engine oil and your dipstick below that. And to the right of it, you can see that you've got your washer fluid and your engine coolant, which is just above. On the passenger side, you'll notice you've got your fill-up point for your diesel. Press the cap in to release it. You'll need your engine key to obviously turn this and release the diesel filler cap. Remove that and you can fill it up obviously with diesel. Ensure it's diesel, not petrol. Just obviously be mindful about that. Moving along, you'll then notice on here you've got your water fill up point. Again, you'll need one of your Burstner keys to unlock this to remove it, and then using a food grade hose pipe you can then put the hose pipe into here to fill up the fresh water tank. When it's overflowing, you know that you've primed your system, or that you've filled up the system at least, and then you can put the cap back into place. Next up in here, you've got your gas locker. So this is where your gas tanks will store. And with that locker open, you can see that you've got space for your gas bottles. We've got one in here at the moment, just as we're testing on it. But just in here, make sure that when you are travelling, your gas is always turned off at the bottle. Do not drive with the gas on. Obviously you're involved in a collision. It's due to safety regulations that has to be off. But obviously when you're stationary you can then turn the gas on at the bottle. You'll then notice that you've got this pigtail, that's what they're called, and that links to something called a regulator, which is this piece of metal here that just snaps onto there and it will allow the gas to flow through. Next to that, we've got your convenience locker. In this convenience locker is where your batteries are located, as you can see, along with your fuses and a couple of your drain down points. Your batteries are here. You've got two leisure batteries on this vehicle, which are side by side. Next up are your fuses, so if anything trips in the van, you can come to here. And what I typically recommend with your fuses is if you just go to Halfords, just get a bag of normal fuses. They're not, you know, specific fuses, don't worry about that. Just if anything trips, you've then got a spare fuse to obviously use. And then you've also got in here your drain down points. So there's three main drain down points in the vehicle. You've got your boiler drain down point, you've then got your wastewater drain down point, and then you've got your freshwater drain down point. You need to ensure that if you're not using the vehicle, the water in the vehicle is completely drained out and drained down, because you do run the risk of it freezing, of course, if you're not using the vehicle. If you're using it, you've not got an issue because you'll typically have your heating on, and that will only freeze if you freeze. But you need to ensure that obviously that is all drained down when in you know, the cooler climates, especially when you're not using the van. So your boiler drain down points are here. They're these two little tabs. You've got the first one here which will flick up, and the second one here, and you can see that they're just draining down onto the floor now. So in the up position they're open, in the down position like so, they are closed. So when you're on site you'll have a big grid that you can drive over. Simply flick them open and that will drain down all of your water. You've then got a big red valve at the back here, and this is for your wastewater drain down point. All you need to do is simply turn that and that will drain down your wastewater. Again, when you're on site there'll be a big grid that you can drain down and then you're good to go. What we recommend is drain down all your water when you're not using the vehicle and when you're travelling in it, because you've got to be mindful. You don't want your tanks full of water when travelling due to payload and weight distribution. So if you can get into the habit of having that open and drain down, it'll mean that you have a bit more free payload for when you're travelling. But as I mentioned, once that's all drained down, simply turn that. What I recommend is leaving them all open, because as you're travelling down the road, the vibrations of that road will just ensure all the water goes out of the tank and is obviously rid of the tank, so you run no risk of it freezing. Now, as I mentioned, there's 3 major hand down points. These are 2, and then you've got one which is on the inside of the vehicle, and that's for your fresh water tank, but I'll show you that, as I say, at another point in the video. Next to convenience locker, you can see that you've got your 230 volt electric hookup points, so when you're on site and you're plugged in, you just simply plug into 230 volt as we are now through your power cable, and that will give you 230 volt electric. Towards the back, you've then got your Dometic fridge vents. Now you've got to bear in mind, if wherever you're going is quite hot, this is where the fridge pulls its air from. So to allow it to run a little bit more efficiently, what we do recommend is just trying to keep this area in the shade. So if the sun's beating down on this side of the van, just turn the van around, it will just help it. You can also get winter covers for these for when you're storing the vehicle. Next up on this side, you've then got a vent. It says Aldi on. This is in essence your chimney. It's a breather pipe. It does get quite hot, this, so don't hang anything on there, just be cautious of that area. But that is in essence, as I say, your chimney for your boiler system in the vehicle. Moving around to the back side of the vehicle, you can see on the back, your previous customers had a tow bar fitted. You've also got 2 lockers here to access the back garage, and your reversing camera is up at the top. That signal is created via Wi-Fi. Moving around, you've got your garage door here. With your garage door open, you can see it gains you access to your garage, and your back locker doors are there. Located in here is your awning pole up at the top. You've also got a light as well as a really good bit of storage underneath, which goes underneath the actual van itself. Just going on to the awning, you've got a Fiamma awning which runs the length of the vehicle. Obviously, if it is windy, we do not recommend using the awning. If there's a slight breeze, take the awning in, because you don't want to risk any wind getting underneath there. It's a big van and it's a big awning, so if you get any bit of wind, it could potentially take it. As you can appreciate, it's like having a big sail on the side of the van. So just bear that in mind. If it is a little bit breezy, take the awning in, because you don't want to damage your van and potentially someone else's, so just bear that in mind. You have got 2 legs attached on the underside of the awning, which come out. Now I'll send you a link to a video that we did earlier in the year, showing you how they operate, how the awning operates. As you can appreciate, it's a little bit difficult on my own here. But all you need to do is wind it out to a point where you can reach it and then drop the legs down. It's just dead simple, dead easy. Next up, you've then got a locker here, which I'll open for you now. And as you can see, this is where your cassette toilet is located. To empty the cassette, all you need to do is pull up on this tab and slide out like so. Now what I'll do is I'll just slide it out and put it on the floor, but before I do that, just one thing to be absolutely clear on is to ensure that the blade on the toilet is closed. You don't want to run the risk of pulling this out with the blade open, because what could happen is it could get, it will get jammed, and if you force that, you can break the mechanism, which is obviously very expensive. Now I'll show you how that blade operates, as I say, in another video. But please ensure that that blade is closed before removing the cassette. So with the cassette out, all you need to do is simply move the funnel, remove the yellow cap, and then click in the yellow button on the inside, on the back side of the cassette. That will release an internal vacuum, and that will allow you to empty the contents of the cassette. You can then put a bit of water in here just to swill it out, and then if you're using blue fluid to obviously break down any waste, that can simply go into the cap. There's a little measurement on that cap which you can just pop it in, and that then connects in. Once you've done that, slide the funnel back into position, and you can then obviously slide it back into its point in the vehicle. One thing you will notice is you've also got this yellow little toggle here which moves. This is what makes contact with the blade when you open and close it. Please ensure this is never moved. This should always stay in this position. If that is off slightly, when you go to push the cassette back in, it could again be damaged. So always remove that, always keep that, sorry, in that position. Never turn it. And as a rule of thumb with anything in the motorhome, if it feels like it's being forced, you're probably doing something wrong, so just bear that in mind. And with the cassette back into its place, just simply slide it in until that yellow clip connects into place, so then it's ready in situ for when you're travelling. Finally, on the outside, you've got this big locker here. In here, you've got plenty of space, obviously more storage, and you've also got some connector points here to obviously plug in your 230 volts. Now the final thing on the outside, which is quite specific to this vehicle, which I'll just run you through, is the inverter which is built on the inside. That has been fitted up at the top here, as you can see. Now at the moment it is actually on. In this position it is off. Now at the moment you can see we are plugged in, hence why that is still lighting up. It's just charging the inverter. How it works is it'll charge your leisure battery, and that's what your inverter will run off. Once you've got 100% on your leisure batteries, you're then good to use your inverter, and that will convert your 12 volt power into 230 volt. Works really well, and there's certain, as part of our PDI process, we've actually pointed out which particular sockets are linked to the inverter, so you know. But as I say, that is all done from up there. Turn it on, just flick it down, and then you are good to go. Before we move on, obviously that's your inverter, and then finally right in the back you've also got your RCD breaker. So if the vehicle ever trips, you can just come to this point. You have got another one that's located in the vehicle, which is for the inverter itself, but that is for the vehicle, which is all the way back there. So that concludes the handover video on this Burstner Argos for the outside. I'm going to do another video showing you the inside.